As you may or may not know, my wife and I just got back from Vegas. It was a great trip. We ate, we drank, we had a blast. But then we got home and looked at the credit card, and I gotta say, it doesn't matter how much fun you're having, $25 for a drink is a ripoff. Frickin' Vegas. I hate getting ripped off, and so do the lads over at Harry's. They spent years watching the razor blade companies rip people off and said, no more. Not all heroes wear capes, my friends, and they want to prove that they're legit by offering you hot dogs a $13 trial set for just $3 at harrys.com/RTG. I've been telling you about them for months, and I'm genuinely proud to have Harry's as a sponsor of this show. I wasn't kidding. The plastic, futuristic-looking crap razors you get at the store are overpriced and they're poor quality. Harry's blades are crisp, clean, and classy. They're the kind of razor you'd expect your grandpa to have on his bathroom counter. And most importantly, they work. Shave after shave, they're so smooth, they're precise. I used to go through the crappy store blades all the time, but Harry's are built to last. And they're not just better quality than the other names, they're more affordable. And they deliver. Just set your schedule, and for as little as $2, new blades, shaving creams, lotions, everything you need, right to your door when you need it. I genuinely cannot think of a reason not to try Harry's. And I'm not just saying this because they're sponsors. They're the best shaving supplies I've ever used. Try them out, and if you're not happy, your shave's on them. And unlike the other subscriptions, they're really easy to cancel if you want to too, which is a nice bonus, but believe me, you're not going to want to cancel. Getting ripped off isn't funny. Switch to Harry's. Get started with a $13 trial set for just $3 at harrys.com/RTG. That's harrys.com/RTG for a $3 trial set. Remember the Game is brought to you by my website, abcomedy.net. As you may or may not know, I'm a comedian by night. And as much as I love talking about old video games, telling jokes is how I actually pay my bills. So please check out my website. In addition to old episodes of this podcast, you'll find my blog, videos of my stand-up, all of my upcoming shows, and my contact information. If you need a comedian for your next fundraiser, corporate event, house party, whatever you got going on, hit me up. Again, it's abcomedy.net. And if you're enjoying the podcast, please subscribe to it. Please leave us a good review. And most importantly, please tell a friend. I'd really appreciate it. There'll be a new episode every single Wednesday. Thank you guys so much for the support. I hope you enjoy the show. Doesn't that song just make you want to dig out at your old mouse and their plastic mouse pad and the mouse with no ball in it, scraping it across it, trying to color in a picture of Yoshi that you're going to fuck up in the end anyways, right? Good times. What is up, everybody? Welcome back to Remember the Game, my retro gaming podcast, where every week a pal will come over and we sit down and geek out about a game from our childhood. My name is Adam Blank. Thank you so much for tuning in. This week, episode 23, we remember the game Mario Paint for the Super Nintendo Entertainment System. My buddy Mark McCue is back. I'm very excited for this week's episode. This is one of those ones everybody played or knew someone that owned, or they go over there and play with it or whatever as a kid. Everyone's got memories of this game. I'm looking forward to it. This was a fun one to record. As far as the podcast goes, things are new. We are on Facebook and Twitter. As you guys already know, it's Twitter at MemberTheGame, and it's Facebook.com/MemberTheGame. If you're a fan of either of those social media platforms, look us up. We follow back. We interact, all that good stuff. The podcast is also on Spotify and Stitcher now, thanks to, I was going to say popular demand, but it's not a popular demand. It was one or two people brought it up. So it's on a couple of new platforms. So if those are your podcast services of choice, you can find the podcast there now. I'm really going to try to grow this thing in 2019. I also really encourage reviews. If you like the show, it'd mean a lot to me. Leave us a good review. It only takes a second, and apparently it helps the podcast when it comes to searches and stuff like that. I don't know enough about it to explain how it helps, but I guess it does. I'm going to start reading comments and reviews on the show, and if they suck, that's fine. I'll read them. Even if you don't like the show, I'll read your negative ones. That's fine too. This week comes from KP9457 on iTunes. This was from a few months ago, but I'm new to this. Love the show, Adam. Look forward to listening to many more. So there's your shout out, KP9457. I'm sure I know you. I just don't know who you are. Oh, I think I do know who that is. Yeah, I think I do know who you are, but Your secret is safe with me. You guys, please leave us a good review if you like the show. I'd really appreciate it. It would help us out a lot. Apparently, like I said, going to try really hard to grow this thing in 2019. It's hard coming up with original ideas that have to do with retro gaming. I think you could argue this one's not necessarily an original idea. There's lots of retro gaming podcasts out there. What I'm really trying to do with this one to help make it unique is steer away from the homework and the facts and the history lesson when it comes to the podcast and the game that week. And just, like I said, just a couple of guys, or a guy and a girl, whatever, just a couple of nerds geeking. It's 2018, gotta be PC. Just geeking out about old video games. I'm really trying to come up with some other new ideas. I really want to try to grow this thing. I've looked into Twitch. I've looked into doing more YouTube channel stuff, blogging, that kind of thing when it comes specifically to video games. It's just that I'm also a comedian, and that takes some time out of my schedule as well. There's only so much time I have in a day. Plus, I also spend a lot of time on the road, so I'm not always at home with all my equipment and everything. That said, I'm really enjoying doing this podcast. I know I've said it every week, but it has completely just rekindled my love of retro video games. I'm playing them now more than I have in a long time. I love reading about them. I had mentioned a couple weeks ago about trying to do a gaming news section at the beginning of each week's podcast. I don't think I'm going to do that unless it's retro gaming news, because I'm going to try to keep it to where it is, which is old school video games, because those are the ones we all know and love, right? So, I have ideas. Maybe I'm going to start its own YouTube channel. Right now, it shares a YouTube channel with my stand-up for the episodes of the podcast. I might try moving it over, trying to do more of a video thing with it. I don't know. We'll see. But the goal in 2019 is I want to grow the audience by, I'm going to say 300%, which I think is just 3 listeners for every one we have now. I don't think it's impossible. You guys are doing so much for me with your shares and telling people about it. I really, really sincerely appreciate it. And let's fucking take this thing onward and upward and become nerds. A legendary list of nerds together. I'm also getting a growing list of guests that are coming by. So thank everyone that's wanted to do the podcast, that has taken time to come to my, hey, I live in kind of a pain in the ass place to get to in Edmonton, and all my regular guests take time to come up here and do episodes with me. So to all of you guys that are listening, thank you so much. If you've never done the show and you want to, shoot me a message and we'll see if we can't set something up, and we'll keep this thing going. So I guess that's what's going on with me. It's just, I love video games. I love doing this podcast, and we got to find a way, or I have to find a way to make it bigger in the new year. And we will. I promise. I will. Whatever. What am I playing right now? You guys, before I get to this week, as you know, I'm a Switch guy, and Guacamelee 2 dropped on it a couple of days ago, so I'm playing that. I know everyone with a Switch is playing Smash Brothers, but I'm waiting because I'm getting it for Christmas, so I have to be a good boy and be patient. Guacamelee and Guacamelee 2 are available on just about everything. I think they're PS4, Steam, Xbox, and now Switch. They are, I know some people think the term is overplayed, but they are complete Metroidvanias. They are fucking awesome. They're hilarious games. They're about a lucha libre wrestler named Guacamelee. And if you've never played them, they're not expensive. I can't recommend them enough. I'm really enjoying number 2. They're funny. The controls are tight. They're perfect. Play them if you like those types of games. I also just finished 100%ing Crash Bandicoot 2. I got one more of those to go. We are going to do an episode on Crash Bandicoot soon, I think. And as far as really retro goes, because Crash has been the remakes, really retro goes, I've been playing Earthworm Jim. A lot of Earthworm Jim on my Super Nintendo Classic. There'll be an episode, that's a spoiler maybe, on an upcoming episode. But it's fucking pretty rad, man. I love retro games. They're the best. They're just better than games today. I don't care what you say. So that's what I'm playing. That's it. I've wasted enough time in this intro. We're at like 6-7 minutes. I am going to get to the episode of this week's episode. Like I said, we're talking Super Mario Paint, you guys, for the Super Nintendo Entertainment System. This game came out on August 1st, 1992 over here in North America. It came with that the Super Nintendo mouse and the mousepad peripheral, which had a bunch of other games to work with it in Japan, but really dick all to work with it here in North America. And that said, I knew so many people that owned this game and had that mouse and that mouse pad just to play with Mario Paint. I think I'll get into it. I'll get into it with Mark. I'm still trying to figure out how I'm going to intro these things, but I got to stop talking about the fucking game so much in the intro. I'm going to shut up. I'm going to get to my podcast with Mark, episode 23, you guys. I hope you enjoy it. I hope it takes you down memory lane to a time where you didn't have a computer and you did all your designing on your TV with that shitty mouse. I'll check in with you guys at the end, and then we'll let you get on with your week, okay? So kick back, relax, cue the music, and let us remember the game that is Mario Paint for the Super Nintendo Entertainment System. This show is sponsored by BetterHelp. Everyone that listens to this podcast knows about our illustrious CEO, my dog Molly. But the other silent partner behind the scenes is my wife. And let me tell you, my friends, a 17-year relationship with another person that has to talk to and live with you is a lot harder to maintain than one with a dog. We've had our ups and downs, and as you all know, a relationship isn't all sunshine and rainbows. They can be a lot of work. You get out what you put in when it comes to relationships, and talking to a therapist can be a fantastic way to put in some work. They can help you work through your issues, learn to communicate better, and even just provide you with an ear to bend when you need it. I've talked to my therapist about my relationships, especially when it came to my stand-up comedy career and how much I was away from home, and they helped me work on ways to keep my relationship strong even when I was out on the road. It turned out our relationship was actually better when I was out on the road, but that's a story for another day. And I know, right? Therapy. Who has the time these days? BetterHelp hears you, and they're making it easy. Fill out a quick form online, and they'll match you up with a therapist that suits your needs and that'll work around your schedule. You pick the meet times, and you can get your therapy fix from anywhere, over video, phone, or just chat. Become your own soulmate, whether you're looking for one or not. Visit BetterHelp.com/rememberthegame today to get 10% off your first month. That's BetterHelp, HELP.com/rememberthegame. Here we go. This one might be a little quicker than some of the other ones, but we'll see. You know, I've had a couple NES games that I thought were going to be tight, and then you get going, and then it's like, oh yeah, there's lots to talk about. Mm-hmm. That said, this week we're talking Mario Paint for the Super Nintendo, which is if there was one game in this podcast's library that I'm like, you've played it. Like, to anyone listening to this, it's Mario Paint. Everybody has played with Mario Paint.
Probably, yeah.
Right? Like, I mean, unless you're a young kid. And to be honest with you, like, if you didn't play it back in the day and then you tried to play it now, like, for the first time, like, imagine, like, my nephew is 12 or 13.
You'd probably think it was pretty dumb.
He'd be like, this sucks. Yeah, like, yeah, right?
This was a full game?
Right? Like, and I was like, not only was this a full game, but, like, hours and hours of my life went into this.
Oh, dude, absolutely. Right. Like, I got it as a Christmas present from my aunt the one year she came. And it was weird. That was the night she told us that she saw Santa on the way over. It was very weird.
Oh.
But she got us this game because she was like, she hung out outside the game stores trying to figure out, because she wanted to get her nephews a video game.
Right.
And this was the one that the cool kids told her to buy.
Oh.
So like it was the big game at the moment. And there's not a whole lot of real actual game in this if you really look at it.
No, there's not. But you know what? Like, so to me, the main thing I think of when I think of Mario Paint is like, I don't know about you, but like, we got Mario Paint before we really had a computer.
Yeah.
You know,
yeah,
like,
me too.
Right? And so like, even if you say that all Mario Paint had, which it doesn't, and we'll get into this, but excuse me, even if you said all Mario Paint is like a cheap, like Microsoft Paint simulator on the Nintendo, then I'm like, it was still Microsoft Paint on a Nintendo, which like everyone played with Paint back in the day, and I didn't have it. Like, I didn't have a computer to play with it.
This was before Microsoft Paint was on every computer.
Yeah, like, and it was really kind of neat to like sit there and like, so you could do a lot of things with Mario Paint, because you like, do you remember you used to be able to like, you could pick their drawings
and like color them in?
Yeah. Like, there was the one of Mario riding Yoshi, like
that's
from Super Mario
the big
World.
one I remember.
Of course, right? That's the one, and like, I could literally just sit there and paint that picture over and over and over.
But sometimes you would like accidentally erase one of the lines and then like click on like,
yes,
if you like click on the cape or something, because I'm like, I'm gonna paint it all yellow, but you accidentally erased one of the lines, it's gonna be like, okay, so the entire sky's yellow now too.
Yeah, if you accidentally wiped out one of the lines, then it would just like blop, and the whole thing would be, and you have to start over again.
Absolutely, yeah.
And like, and I was like, it was like embarrassing how anal I was. If you were painting that picture in my house and I was around, you painted that picture right. I didn't want any freaking weird ass blue Mario. Like, you paint it the colors it's supposed to be painted.
I would always experiment with the other,
You son of a bitch.
I would experiment with the other colors, and I always felt dirty about it.
You should have felt, you anarchist. You should have felt. But that was like, I thought that was really, like, I mean, yeah, like, it's funny now. Like, if you paid, I don't know what it cost. I have to assume that it was $70 or $80 back in the day. You know, like, I don't remember how much I never bought Super Nintendo games when I was a kid.
But it would have had to come with the mouse.
Came with the mouse and the mouse pad. It was a bigger box. So, like, say it was $80. Let's just say. Yeah. If you bought that now for $80, that game would get like a 2 out of 10 review
easily
on any gaming site or anything.
Especially if you bought it for like a modern console. People would be like, "What the fuck?"
It would get panned. The only thing that would, I think, like, I haven't played with Mario Paint in 15 years minimum, probably longer than that. Like, the only thing that I think would stand up at all now would be the fly swatting game.
But like, even then, it's like the same 5 levels looped over and over again.
Yeah, it was.
And it was like there was a little bit of like nightmare. Like, it was a bit of a nightmare, that game, because like, it was fun, but like, whenever your hand got stung, it would just let out this real human scream with a human face on a hand, and it's like, what hell have you gotten me into, Mario?
And the control, like, that mouse wasn't perfect.
No, not really.
On that plastic game, like, I can still hear the like the scratching noise of that mouse dragging around on that. So like, you get stuck and then you'd be screwed, and then if you had to lift it off to like move the guy back, like to move your hand back so you could move over further or something, you'd get stung. And
the best part about this game, the thing I remember liking most about this game, is when you booted up the game. Yeah, there was like Mario Paint, like the Mario Paint
the letters.
Title screen. You could click on the letters and they'd all do something different.
Yeah, I like, honestly with you, like, one of the things like, if we're doing this, if we're like, if you're listening to this, then I've edited this podcast and put it out. I love that the music, like some of the sound effects and some of the music from this game, like, not just how you could create your own music. But like the music that came within the game and stuff like that. I love that. Like, it was such a calming game. You know what I mean? Like,
and it's kind of like the last game we talked about. It was like, there was no like high drama. There's no like, it was just a peaceful game to play. Yeah,
it was good. Like, if you were, I mean, like, as I've admitted on this podcast many times, and I'm getting help. I have a rage problem when it comes to video games. And I've gotten better. There's no more putting holes. I have put holes in walls. I have smashed.
Really?
Yep. And I don't do that anymore. Molly will sit. My dog will sit with me while I play a video game now. There was a time where she wouldn't, because I would get so angry. Donkey Kong Tropical Freeze. I'm looking at you. But with Mario Paint as a kid, I would get angry at one of my games, and then I put in Mario Paint.
Yeah.
And that would just be like how I would be like, oh.
Well, the thing about Mario Paint, it wasn't like, it wasn't so much of a game as it was just like a creation studio.
Yeah, it was, you know.
Like, yeah, you could do the thing, like, you could like play the fly swatter game, but you could also like create backgrounds and animations over the backgrounds.
Yeah.
Did you ever watch Homestar Runner?
Yeah, I did.
Yeah, the first few Homestar cartoons were animated in Mario Paint.
No shit.
Yeah.
I did not know that.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, a lot of things, like, it was a lot of people's first animating tool. So not only is it just like a cool kind of like creation studio, but it actually inspired a lot of real world creation.
I didn't know that. Wow, that's cool. That's really cool, actually. Wow. I actually was, one of the notes I wrote down about this episode is I'm curious to know if there's anyone out there creating now that started with Mario Paint.
Oh yeah,
and there
easily,
has to be.
Easily.
You know, it's so like Nintendo forever has had a great, sometimes bad reputation for thinking outside of the box and trying different things. You know what I mean? And it's and
sometimes it's great, sometimes it's bad, sometimes it's just weird. What is Labo?
I was gonna say, like, there's Labo now. You can look at the Wii as a whole.
Yeah,
it was an experiment. The Virtual Boy didn't work. You know, there's lots of little things that they try, and it's not just the little things, but sometimes it's just like a game. You know, and like when I think of stuff like Mario Maker, to me, like, the original of all these was Mario Paint. Like, this was the first. Yeah. I can't think of a game on the NES that was like this.
And that's actually, I liked that a lot about Mario Makers. There was a lot of little like references to Mario Paint in it.
Yeah, there was. You know, one of the things I've wondered before is how have they never released a sequel to Mario Paint? Like, I wonder.
They kind of have.
Like, but like,
there is like Mario's Print Studio, which was for like. The N64 designed a disc system that only sold in Japan.
Yeah.
And with it, it came there was a game called Mario's Paint Studio.
Oh, I didn't know that.
And it was a lot like this, but like it was more focused on like drawing than it was anything else.
Right. But it's always kind of just made me curious, like, because they certainly could. Like, I mean, even like the Virtual Console, like, you can't tell me that the Wii remote wouldn't have worked just fine. It probably would have worked better than a mouse.
Yeah, it would have worked way better than a mouse for all of this.
And I think that game would have sold. I think a lot of people would have bought that and just been like, here, like to their kids, like, here, just play with this. You know what I mean? Like, it'd be a perfect time kill. Same as like even now with the Switch, the Joy-Cons are motion control. Like, they would work.
It has a touch screen.
It has a touch screen. Like, it surprises me a little bit that they haven't done another. I didn't realize that one had come out, but I guess that one never found North America then. If it was just on the DD, so
it didn't. Yeah, it didn't.
I think it was a cool game. You know, like, I mean, it's obviously now it'd be useless. You know,
I liked the music creation as well.
That's where I was gonna go. To me, I read about this actually not long ago. They said there are still people today releasing music they make in Mario Paint's Music Maker.
Oh yeah,
it's like, a huge platform.
It's a genre on YouTube.
Right. Yeah. The one I saw was they did the Legend of Zelda theme on it, and it was rad.
That's super cool.
It was really good too. And the thing is like I was never good at it. Like you remember you could pick the sample songs at the bottom,
and you would just like replace everything with like dogs barking or something.
Yeah. And they seemed like you were like, wow, look at what this program I could do. And then my song would be a fucking entire row of pigs on the bottom bar, so it just sounded like a giant fart. We used to put all these pigs there, turn the volume up on the TV, and then just play it on replay at fastest speed. So it was just like boom, 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 boom. And we thought it was
and that's when you created dubstep.
Yeah, I did. You're all welcome. Thank you. But that's the stupid shit we used to do. We would try to, like, I remember like many, many times I would sit down and try to make like a real good song, and I get like a dozen bars in, and then just be like, fuck it.
But that's what I mean. It inspired real world creation.
Yeah, it did. I wonder how they came up with it. Like, I wonder how they were like, instead of making a game, let's just make a whole bunch of little creations, because Nintendo's always been good at like encouraging creativity and encouraging imagination and things like that. But this was really like,
this is how it snuck it in there. It was like Mario was super popular with kids, so it was like, let's get them to like create something, and then they wrapped it in Mario, and people are like, oh, it's a Mario thing, let's do it. And then tricked them into, unlike they did the exact same thing with another game called Mario is Missing, and it wasn't as good because they tricked us and are like, hey guys, look, it's a Mario game where Mario is missing, and on the box it's like, ooh, look, it's Bowser's taking away Mario and Luigi has to look for him, and you're like, fuck, that looks like a great game. And then you play it and it's like you're in Paris and you're like, please tell me 3 facts about the Eiffel Tower. And you're like, fuck you.
Yeah, give me my brother back. Fuck you. Whereas, Mario Paint, you're right. It was clearly a creation tool, and then they threw Mario's fate. Because, like, say they release that exact same game, but they don't call it Mario Paint. They just call it Nintendo Studio or something.
Which there could very well be a game called just
could
that.
Be. But that's exactly the point I was going to make. Nobody would have known about it. It would have died. Whereas Mario Paint,
like
blew
Wii Music,
up.
who played it?
Yeah, exactly. Whereas Mario Paint, like, everyone I knew owned Mario Paint.
Yeah,
like
because it was a Mario game.
Yeah, like I should have checked. I am going to check this. So I'm going to ask you to say something in a second to kill time while I'm looking shit up like a dud. But I would be very curious to know if Mario Paint was in the top 10 best-selling SNES games.
There's a good chance. It's possible. I know that there were bundles that were sold with it. I don't know if they were popular, if that was a popular Super Nintendo bundle.
Yeah, they had a lot of bundles, eh? Like I had the Super Mario World bundles. That's what
even if you bought a Wii, you had Wii Sports. So Wii Sports is like the second highest selling game of all time or something.
Yeah, that's
like
true.
That.
No, it's not on here.
No, it's not.
All 3 Donkey Kong countries are.
Oh wow.
But you know what? And I haven't done one of those games on here yet. They deserve all 3 of those spots because those are some of the greatest It's not what they're some of the greatest platformers of all time.
Yeah, they're amazing.
But we're not talking about that. We're talking about Mario Paint. One of the other big problems with Mario Paint, and it didn't seem like a problem at the time, but it's one of the reasons it would be you'd have to re-release it with added things now, is there was really no way to share. Unless you hooked a VCR up to your TV and recorded what you were doing on a VHS.
Yeah, there wasn't a way to print it. There wasn't. You just would have to show, like, hey, look, this is a thing I did.
Yeah, I can't even remember if you could save a lot of stuff.
You could save it, but
because you could build like stamps, and you could build, like you said, like it was actually
like saving actually took a long time. That like there was like a whole robot that danced.
I remember the robot dance. Yeah. Because there was like, if you really got creative with it, like you could create like a movie. You could use your music and put it into your drawing with your stamps, acting shit out, and not a movie, but like a comic book kind of.
People absolutely have made like anime again. Like I see no reason why you couldn't make like a full length animated movie in Mario Paint.
No, it was
I mean, it wouldn't be great. Like it still is very limited. Like tools.
Yeah, it had like no, you couldn't put any like talking in it or anything like that. But you could do a lot of cool things with it, man. It was, I don't know. It's so. I wasn't sure how this episode would even go because I was like, it's not a game.
There's not much to talk about, but there's a lot to talk about.
I think it's just one of those, like, maybe more so than any game we've talked about on here before. It's one that, like, probably just needs to stay in the past. Like, when I say that I'm surprised it never showed up on the Virtual Console, like, I wouldn't have bought it. I would have, if I had kids, I would buy it.
Yeah.
If it had shown up on the Wii Virtual Console and I could have given it, for like $6 and I could have given my kids.
But it's not a game I would search out to play for myself anymore.
No, me neither. When I collected video games years ago, I owned it. And I don't know if I ever maybe tried it once just to make sure it worked. But then I was like, what am I really going to do with this? Like, you play the Fly game a couple of times and you're like,
it's one of those games that was great when you were a kid, but now it's like...
Yeah, like, I mean, the old video games still work. Like, you can still play Mario Brothers today, and it's awesome. But this game now, like, it's the phone I'm holding in my hand right now.
It has all those things.
10 times better. Yeah. Like infinitely better, and I can share them, and I can save them and do it faster. I don't have to watch the little robots save stuff. It doesn't have a crappy mouse that, like, I don't, like...
And it wasn't completely pre-internet, but it was, like, just before the popularization of the internet.
Yeah, before the internet kind of became normal and mainstream, yeah.
So it was like kind of a thing that like... So like the Mario Paint was just kind of a thing that you had to enjoy for yourself.
Yeah, but it was like, I don't know about yourself, like I could sit there with my brother and just play Mario Paint for hours and just have a great time, just making up stupid little songs. Like the fucking the pig noises is the best. And just, creating these stupid stamps. We made all these awful stamps where we would try to make something that looked real and then give up halfway through and just make it into something stupid. And like, that's the thing now too, is like, I would love to get my hands on it now just to try to create some pixel. Like, I love pixel art, like 16-bit pixel art. And you could totally do that with those stamps. If you were good. I just wasn't good. I have no artistic ability whatsoever. But the fact that you had that, like, it was a game before its time. It really, maybe not before its time, but it was the first of its kind, maybe is a better way to put it.
Yeah.
Like they had never done anything like that before. And they were taking a big risk with that game because that mouse, I'm sure that the mouse was like the Super Scope, where when they initially released it, they were like, well, we got to put a bunch more stuff out for this.
And it probably was more expensive because you had to include that hardware with it.
Yeah, absolutely.
And it was the biggest problem with the mouse and the mousepad is they weren't good for any other game.
No, I can't, like...
There might be like one or two that it was good for. I could be wrong on that, but for the most part, like...
That's what I was just going to say. There may be another game, but like it was basically dead.
Yeah.
It was a dead peripheral. And it wasn't a very good mouse. And the thing is like, as computers became more mainstream and more houses got them and you got access to Paint and you got access to a good mouse, I mean, like it died like overnight. You were like,
even now, like computers, like you can get like good music software on it pretty easily.
Sure. I have like, I know some people, again, computer people are going to be like, oh, that sucks. But like my MacBook has GarageBand.
Yeah.
You can do a ton of shit with that. You know what I mean? Like it's incredible now. But like
Mario, then, things like Finale and Sibelius, they're pretty cheap.
Right. But Mario Paint was like the first one. And like I would like, it would really make me happy to hear a game developer or
try to
or
do
musician
something
or
like
something.
This.
Yeah. Try to do something like this now, or come out and say, I got my start with Mario Paint.
Yeah.
I would be like, that's really cool that the first thing you ever designed something on was Mario, because I did that. And then clearly you
did something
had talent
with it.
and I didn't. Yeah, I just made a bunch of pig snort over and over and over again. But you were good. I don't know, man. It was cool. I don't know if there's a way to re-release it now.
I have a place in my heart for Mario Paint, but the time has passed.
Yeah,
for it.
I'm willing to go back and play just about every old video game. And sometimes you go back and play an old game and you're like, this actually kind of sucks. But I liked it as a kid.
I find that a lot
with
the NES.
Yeah, the NES is bad for that.
I'm a little bit biased when it comes to the NES. Like, the SNES was my first console, so I guess I'm a bit biased towards it. But if you try to play games like Balloon Fight, like, really, like, when you're a kid, those are fun for hours. But if you try to play it now, it's fun for, like, 25 seconds. And you're like, all right, let's see what else is on here.
I agree with that. But I can still find a way to go back and play old games because I enjoy them. But Mario Paint, it's like, I don't think I would go back and be like, this isn't as good as I remember. I think I would just go back and be like, this is not necessary anymore. Yeah. It would be like, instead of fucking typing out something on a computer on Word, doing it with a fucking typewriter.
Yeah.
It just wouldn't, you know what I mean? It's like, I don't have any need to do this anymore.
Oh, exactly.
And it's a hard thing to emulate. I don't know if there's emulators that work on computers where you could use your regular mouse and play it or not. If you can't, then I would think it'd be a very hard game to emulate. Like, this game is just, it's always going to have a place in history. It just is, it's dead. There's nothing what else you do with it. It's done, But it was fun. I'm really looking forward to editing this and just listening to some of the, like, I can hear the music in my head. I can hear the music. Yeah.
That's probably not how it goes, like, but that's how I hear it up here.
I just can't, that's the part I'm looking forward to the most, I think. That's it. Good job. Yeah, that's it. This has been karaoke with Mark. No. Well, I don't know. It's not bad. I didn't know what this episode was going to be like, but actually that was fun.
Yeah.
I like Mario Paint. If you don't like Mario Paint, go fuck yourself. That game's fun.
Or you were just born after the internet.
Well, then you can go fuck yourself too. What would you, I don't even know if you can give a score to Mario Paint.
Yeah, because it's one of the, like, it's such a sliding scale. Like, yeah, if it was released today, that would be a solid 2.
Maybe a 2, yeah.
But, like, at the time, it's like, oh, that's a 9.
Yeah, I'd give it like a 8 back then. It was a lot of fun.
8 or 9 back then was probably good.
I, like, legitimately would like to know how many hours I put into it as a kid. And I have nothing to show for it.
Yeah.
And I know you could say that about any video game, but at least most video games, like, I beat them, and then I'm like, oh, look, I beat the game.
You can't beat Mario Paint.
No, you just keep painting in this colored picture of Yoshi over and over and over again. That was my favorite thing. So stupid. That and the pig noises. And the cat. The meow. The cat.
Oh, right.
Anyway, okay, we're going to end this one. I might actually try to go online and find a couple versions of songs done in Mario Paint to put at the end of this one instead of just a song. So you guys may be listening to that in a minute. If you don't, then I'll edit this out so you guys don't hear it. But if I do, then I'm gonna leave this part in. And good shit, buddy. Thanks for talking Mario Paint with me. That was fun.
Thanks for having me.
All right, buddy. That's going to do it for this week's episode, everybody. Mark McCue, my friend, thank you so much for coming by, talking Mario Paint with me. You guys, thank you so much for listening. I think I mentioned during the chat with Mark that I was going to try to find someone's music from that they'd created with Mario Paint, put it into the podcast. I've decided not to. There's some great ones on YouTube. I just don't want to steal someone's work. So if you're interested, just search it, YouTube. Go on whatever and just search Mario Paint music. It's pretty wild, man, some of the shit people have done with this game. That was fun. That was a fun episode. That was a trip down old memory lane. And that's one of those games that I'm pretty confident I'll never play again because I don't have a mouse to access it with, or a Super Nintendo mouse. So I'll probably never play with it again. I don't really see a need to, but it was fun. I'm sure you guys all played it. You guys all liked it. You guys liked the episode, right? I hope you did. If you did, leave me a good review. Put it on wherever, iTunes, YouTube, Stitcher, or one of those new things. We're on Stitcher and Spotify now. Don't forget any of those things. I'd really, really appreciate it. Subscribe to the show, tell a friend, all that good stuff. We're on Facebook.com/memberthegame, and we are on the Twitter @memberthegame. Come and find us. That'd be rad. I think that's going to do it. Yeah, that's good enough. I'm going to get out of here. You guys, thanks for listening. I'll be back again next week with episode 24. It's a surprise, as always, but there's a cool game coming up. And go play some video games and eat some food and drink some booze. It's Christmas time. That's what Christmas is all about, right? Getting drunk with your friends and your family and playing video games. I think something like that. I think that's what Jesus said. Something like that. Anyway, thanks, guys. I'll talk to you again in 7 days. Take it easy.